guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jenna, and if you're not new here, then we have some catching up to do apparently. It's been over a year since I've last uploaded a video, and I wanted to come back and make a birth story video of my sweet baby Annie. I know a lot of you found me through my 4th degree tear story, and I just think it's really important to share positive experiences after that. I remember when I had mine with my first birth, I just was like looking and wondering if I would ever have a baby again, what it would look like, would I ever have a natural birth again, would I have to have a C-section, would my body ever heal fully? And it's just a very scary and lonely place to be, so I'm hoping to just continue to share my experiences with that kind of stuff. So if you're not familiar with me, which now feels like none of you are, but I had a 4th degree tear about 4 years ago with my first birth. It is the highest degree of tear you can have, and you can look it up, but it's a little graphic. So that's my background. So that birth was an unmedicated hospital birth. My second birth, I was at a birth center, unmedicated water birth, and I ended up with a small 2nd degree tear, which was a breeze compared to my 4th degree tear. And then this time, I also had an unmedicated water birth at the same birth center this time. So that's the story I'm going to be telling you today. And that story starts on Sunday, May 7th. I was due on May 1st, and I did not have her May 1st. I went 10 days over. Throughout those 10 days, I kept praying that God would just place me with the right midwife for my experience, because at the birth center I went to, you just get the midwife that's on call. I had gotten to know most of the midwives there throughout both pregnancies that I've gone to this birth center, but there were 2 midwives that I didn't really see too often just because they weren't in office the days I had appointments. On Sunday, May 7th, I was just about 41 weeks, just about a week overdue, and I began having consistent prodromal labor contractions. So 5 minutes apart, about 45 seconds long. All day long, they were consistent, and they were different, like they were stronger than Braxton Hicks, but I didn't know if they were labor contractions or not because I never really know when I'm in labor. They all just kind of blend together for me. So anyways, all day they were going, and I was like, oh, I might have the baby today. I was getting all excited, and then they stopped when I went to bed, so I was like, ugh, whatever. The next day, on Monday, May 8th, I had my 41-week appointment and the non-stress test and amniotic fluid index screening, and I was also planning to get a membrane sweep. Baby looked wonderful, and the amniotic fluid was actually pretty low, so the midwife on call really wanted to try and get things moving in that day or the next. And I was at like a 2 or 3 centimeters dilated, and again, I still was having consistent contractions after that, about 4 minutes apart, even during my non-stress test. So I went home, and yeah, they stayed consistently 4 minutes apart, went to bed, they stopped. Wednesday, was it Wednesday? No, Tuesday. So the very next day, I went in again. I called the on-call midwife and I asked if I could get another membrane sweep. I was still only at a 3, and I was still contracting every 4 minutes apart. So here we are on Wednesday, May 10th. And again, I was still having the prodromal labor. So this is day 4 of consistent contractions, but no change in my cervix or in the intensity of the contractions. So Wednesday, I was getting really just like, it feels like at that point, it feels like you're just never gonna have your baby. I decided to do the Miles circuit when my older 2 took a nap. If you don't know what the Miles circuit is, it's like a longer, not exercise, but kind of to get your baby in the right position, and it can help induce labor if you're ready. And so I get to the second pose where I'm like laying in bed for the 30 minutes, and I was listening to a like biblical verse meditation. I actually ended up falling asleep during that, and I woke up around, let me see, what did I write? I woke up around 2:30 to like a big contraction where I was like, oh, that one was a little different, but it was still super manageable, and those continued that way for about an hour. And around 3 or 3:30, I was like, I kind of want to just head into the birth center. So we got to the birth center around like 4:30, and in the car, they were 4 minutes apart, my contractions, and they were pretty, I don't know, pretty strong in the car, just because the car is not the best place for laboring. Once I got to the birth center, my contractions literally just stopped. Like, I felt like I was having slight tightenings, but the contractions were not there, and I was like, oh my gosh. I felt so stupid. I was like, why did we drive in here? The midwife on call was one that I really hadn't seen much, so one of the two that I didn't build like a solid relationship with because I didn't see her throughout my prenatal care. I got there at 4:30 and she ended up already being in clinic because the two midwives, I think, that were scheduled for appointments that day had like emergencies and had to leave. So she took over clinic that day. So it was like very busy when I got there. They felt bad, but they're like, you're obviously our first priority because you're in labor, like laboring patient is our first priority. So I told the midwife and the receptionist, I'm like, don't even worry about it, like my contractions have stopped. So it's fine, we'll just go get dinner or something. And then when we went to leave to go get dinner, my contractions came back. We ended up getting back to the birth center around 7:30 and the midwife was all done with her appointments. We got checked, she checked my dilation, but I was at a 6, so she's like, yep, you're welcome to stay, you can go around town if you want. I just kept laboring. I wrote in my birth plan that I really valued privacy and just like my own space to be internalized, and so they gave me lots of space, which I appreciated. And then around 10, we actually had another laboring woman come into the birth center and get admitted. And we were like neck and neck the whole time with progression based on our cues. My contractions did not pick up at all. The whole time I was in labor there, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, this doesn't feel hard at all. I was having long breaks, like still 4 minutes apart. And so I just was appreciating that while I had it. So around 12:30 or 1, I started to hear the other woman sound like she was probably pushing. And I actually started feeling pushy at this point too, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything to like actively progress my labor because I want to make sure the midwife is available when I'm ready to push, just in case of emergency. And also the tub was full, and I've been thinking about getting in because it was getting to that point where I felt like it would be helpful for my pain management and also in case the baby just decided to burst into the world. So I didn't end up getting in the tub because I could hear this lady giving birth in the next room. The other mother was taken care of right after she gave birth, and once they came in, it was probably around, I wrote it down, probably around 2 that I ended up getting in the tub, and I just labored in there for like probably an hour. And I have to just say, although I can't say where I went or like who was my providers, I just have to say the nurse assistant I had and my midwife were incredible. I could have not asked for a better care team at the birth center throughout my labor and birth. So once I was in the tub, contractions did pick up to about every 2 to 3 minutes apart. I think I honestly wasn't paying attention at that point. It was pretty intense, so I was just very in the zone, trying to breathe through it and not lose my control. They were definitely closer and much more intense. But I'm thankful that it was only those last like 2 hours of hard labor. I was in the tub for like an hour, and then I started to feel like that pushy still, and so I sort of was like giving it some pushes throughout contractions, and I could feel my waters coming towards the exit. And I was getting like, maybe I should ask her to break my water, because I felt like once the water broke, then like they said, baby would just kind of slide right out. The midwife ended up bringing it up just gently. It was like, I can break your water if you want, after like an hour of me kind of pushing. So she broke my water. Then I had about 3 or 4 big contractions of pushing, and I gave it my all. On the 3rd contraction, I thought to myself, okay, I'm ready to push her out. I felt like my body stretched enough with like the hour of the waters kind of doing the work for the baby of stretching and everything. Since I got to the 3rd contraction, felt the ring of fire and crowning, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna push her out on this one. I'm trying to think of how to describe this without being too graphic, because I don't know who's watching this, but it's a birth story, so you shouldn't be watching this if you don't want to hear graphic details about birth. So on the third contraction, I'll just say it how it is. The third contraction, crowning, I thought I'm pushing her out on this one, so I gave it my all. I felt stretched out enough, and my contraction stopped halfway through her head coming out. I have never, ever, ever felt something more intense in my whole entire life. My easiest labor was this one. Besides that moment was the hardest, I think, of any of my labors. Thankfully, it was only about a minute long, but I had to sit there throughout, waiting for the next contraction. It was brutal. It was a brutal 1 minute, but I'm so thankful that that happened, because on the next contraction, she came out and I had no tears. And I'm so thankful, because I really think that that last contraction of her being halfway in, halfway out is what caused me to not tear. So then I had my little baby on my chest, and it was wonderful, and I was so eager to find out if I tore or not. Once I did get out and they checked me, and she's like, no tears, just a couple scrapes, or like abrasions they would call them. When she said that, I was like, oh my gosh. It felt so surreal. Like, my whole experience of having a 4th degree tear and wondering if I'd ever have a natural birth again, or if I'd even have another baby again, it just came full circle. Like, I had my 3rd baby with no tear. I don't even know how I could explain the relief I felt, and like, honestly, accomplishment it felt like, because of the control that I felt like I was able to have over my own self and pain management, but also just like me praying for a healthy, good birth experience. It all just came to fruition, and I'm so grateful. I mainly wanted to share this to just encourage anybody, but mainly you 4th degree tear moms who have found me throughout the years, that it is possible to have a wonderful birth after a more traumatic one. I would like to do another video eventually, hopefully soon. I'm not going to put pressure on myself, but to give a update on where I'm at, like physically, bodily, in my healing journey, because like I've mentioned in lots of videos, a 4th degree tear can really change your life forever or short term, or it's just such a spectrum. But I would love to do a video on that, so if you are watching this and you found me through my 4th degree tear videos, please message me or comment and let me know if you have anything you want me to touch on 4th degree tear wise or healing wise. But yeah, that was my birth story of sweet little Annalie, and I'm so grateful for a positive experience. Thank you for watching. I don't know when I'll see you back, but I do want to make that update video, so you'll see me back eventually. I can't make promises when, so I guess subscribe if you don't want to miss it. But that's all for today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and maybe I'll see you back next time. Bye.